Welcome to the BAILLUM'S cooking presentation. Today we're going to be making pork stir fry. And we start off by getting some of the ingredients that's going to be in the stir fry process, which we have right here. Some of the things you're going to need to get your stir fry going is you're going to need black pepper, teriyaki seasoning. You're going to need garlic, onion powder, virgin olive oil, sea salt, a little Worcestershire, a little butter, and of course the pork loin, which we have, you can buy your pork loin at any butcher shop. I like to have mine deboned and all of the fat trimmed off, and I'm going to slice them down on the bias right before I saute them. I have here all of my stir-fried vegetables. I have carrots, green beans, broccoli sprouts, bamboo shoots, peppers, onions, and string beans. Already cut up, already chopped and ready to go. You're also going to need a nice sized skillet saute pan that you're going to need saute your vegetables and the meat in.
There you go. That's it.
Also, it's going to be served with a white rice. You take your rice and you rinse it down thoroughly with cold water, and you continue rinsing it until the water is clear. That means you get mostly all the starch off of it. And then once you get the starch off it, you add just a little bit of sea salt, just a little pinch of sea salt, which I will be adding there. You put it on the burner, you cook it until it starts to boil. You turn the eye down to low to medium heat, cover with a lid, and let it reduce until the rice dries out. That'll be served along with, on the side, along with the stir-fried pork dish. We'll be right back. I'm going to get the meat cut on the bias and get it little dusted with flour, and get my olive oil and my butter in the pan ready to go. And when I get to that point, I'll come back and show you how I saute the meat. See, I'm cutting all the pork down into small strips. That makes it easier to cook and easy for serving. Actually, I don't have to cut so many at a time. I can cut at least two at a time. I like to cut and get them all done, so I can cut them in stacks. But since it's a presentation, I'll let you see me cut them smaller so that you can see what's going on. Of course, you know. Yep. Okay, what you're doing now is you're taking those shredded pieces of pork and you're lightly dusting them with flour so that they just don't stick together. And once I get this all nice and flour just slightly like that, so they're not sticking, then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use this deep dish saute pan. I'm going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and 1 tablespoon of butter, and I'm going to heat that up, and then I'm going to start sauteing the meat off. Once the meat is sauteed, I'm going to remove it from the heat, put it in a separate dish onto the side, and then I'm going to begin the process of sauteing my vegetables. And then once they get sauteed, I'm going to be adding the teriyaki sauce, the seasonings, and we incorporate the meat back into the dish, mix it all up, and it's going to come all one cohesive dish. And then I'll be able to show it to you right when it's finished, right before I serve it with the rice on the side. As you can see, I have the strips of pork sauteing in the olive oil and butter. I also have the rice beginning to heat up. Once it becomes to a boil, I'm going to reduce the heat, cover it with a lid. The pork pieces have been lightly dusted and is in the olive oil and butter, and I'm going to let that saute until every piece has a slight brown to it. a slight brown, and then I'm going to remove all of these from the heat once they're all done and ready to rock and roll. And I'll come back to you when I start putting this dish together for the next phase. As you can see, the rice had come to a boil. I reduced the heat down to about 2.5. I placed to a low-medium heat. I placed the lid on it so it can continue to dry out. As you can see, the pork pieces are almost all sauteed up nicely. They're starting to get a little crisp to them. I'm going to remove them from the heat because what you don't want to do is overcook them. So I'm going to remove them from the heat. I done already tossed them. They're looking pretty good. I'm going to remove them from the heat, and we're going to move on to the next phase from there. Okay, now that the pork has been sauteed and removed from the pan, I took the same hot pan, added a little bit of butter, and added all the vegetables, stir-fried vegetables to it. That's the bamboo shoots, the carrots, the onions, the peppers, the broccoli shoot, the broccoli spears, string beans, and bean sprout. Added them all to the pan. I'm going to let that heat up and come to a nice heat. And once that comes to a nice heat and start to cook in a little bit, incorporate, you want to make sure that everything stays crunchy and nice. You don't want to overcook it so it's soft and, you know, mushy. Once that's done, I'm going to take the pork and reincorporate it back to it. Then I'm going to add some teriyaki sauce along with a teaspoon of Worcestershire, a little bit of sea salt, and we're going to let that go from there. And when it's all put together, the rice should be done steamed up and got complete, and then I'll show you what a complete dish looks like.
Yep.
Now that we have incorporated the meat back into the vegetables are steamed up. I've added the teriyaki sauce. The rice is steaming up. This is simmering nice and smooth, as you can see it. It's on a medium heat on round 3, so it's just incorporating all the flavors into the meat and the vegetables as it continue to just heat up and finish cooking all those marinated flavors together. In a few minutes, when that rice is nice and dried out and ready to serve, as you can see, that's going to be nice on that. That's going to be pork stir fry. And you can cook this meal in probably about maybe 10 to 15 minutes, depending on all your ingredients, having it already prepped and ready to go like I did. And just bon appetit.
The finished plate. Voila.
That's what it looks like when it's done. A little bit of rice and some teriyaki stir fry. That's what it looks like. That's how it's done. 15 minutes and you're eating. Shut it off.
This is me
Mixing
it all together. I'm mixing my rice with my stir fry. I'm gonna get ready to taste it and see what it tastes like. It's nice and hot. A little bit of everything. Delicious. Thank you for watching. Enjoy. Tag me in this video when you make yours.